The radar return is barely the size of a golf ball, racing across the glass face of the AN/SPY 1DV radar array at 115 miles per hour. To the human eye, it is only a flickering ghost. But the Aegis combat system does not deal in guesses. It trusts one thing: physics. Inside the Combat Information Center of an Arleigh Burke-class destroyer, the clock is already counting down. 94 seconds to contact. Outside, the Persian Gulf air is heavy and humid. Inside, the room is cold, focused, and silent in all the right places. Track 7042. Speed, 100 knots. Profile matches a loitering munition. Probable origin, Iranian coastal sector 4. The RIM-116. Rolling airframe missile launches from the rail with a sharp, compressed roar. Its infrared seeker comes alive in flight, searching for the friction heat building around a fiberglass nose cone. 42 seconds remain. The drone is a Russian-supplied Geran-2. It carries no defensive system. It has no pilot making decisions in real time. It has only a programmed route and a target line drawn long before launch. The RIM-116 adjusts by 3 degrees while moving at Mach 2, roughly 1,534 miles per hour. The intercept happens 3 miles from the ship. Its 25-pound fragmentation package opens in the air, sending a dense cloud of tungsten pellets through the Russian-built frame. In an instant, the drone breaks apart into thousands of pieces of carbon fiber, fuel mist, and scattered components. The Geran-2 disappears from the tactical picture, and the engagement chain immediately moves to the next point in the network. Western intelligence has spent months tracking a major shift in the tactical balance of the Middle East. For years, the flow of loitering munitions moved in one direction, from Tehran to Moscow, supporting Russia's campaign in Ukraine. Now, according to Western assessments, that route has started running in reverse. The Kremlin is reportedly sending Russian localized versions of the Shahed 136, known as the Geran-2, back to Iran. These shipments are not just about hardware. They represent the transfer of battlefield data, hardened guidance systems, and manufacturing lessons learned under real combat pressure. Moscow denies the reports and calls them fabrications. It insists that this type of military cooperation does not exist. But diplomatic language cannot hide a logistics trail from a connected surveillance network. High above the clouds, the SBIRS satellite constellation watches for the distinct thermal signatures of Russian heavy-lift transport aircraft. An Ilyushin Il-76 lifts off from a military airfield near the Russian border. Inside its cargo hold are crates packed with modular drone components and upgraded Russian guidance packages, including Kometa-M anti-jamming satellite receivers. Aegis 2 tracks the Il-76 as it crosses the Caspian Sea and enters Iranian airspace. That information is instantly fused into the regional tactical picture. The network builds a digital twin of the entire logistics chain. We know how long the transport flights take. We know the likely weight of the crates. We know the probable battery life of the guidance chips being unpacked on the tarmac. To understand the scale of the threat, picture a convoy of used pickup trucks, each carrying 100 pounds of destructive payload, arriving at a launch area the size of a football field. Each drone costs roughly $30,000 to produce. That is less than the price of many mid-sized SUVs. Russia is not sending a precision scalpel. It is sending a storm. The strategic goal is to create an economic trap. Force the United States Navy to spend a $2,100,000 Standard Missile-2 to stop a drone that costs about $30,000. On paper, the exchange is uneven. In the air, the decision still has to be made in seconds. It is a long contest of endurance disguised as a technological skirmish. But the engagement web is built to calculate return on investment with the same precision it uses to calculate intercept geometry. The crates are tracked from the airfield to concealed launch sites along the coast. Every stop the trucks make is entered into a database shared across the fleet. Sensors aboard F-35C, Lightning II aircraft operating in the region, add another pixel to the larger picture. The opposing force's inventory is being watched in real time. Before a single engine is started, the engagement web has already assigned a tiered, cost-effective response to every airframe in that shipment. The tracking continues as the crates are moved onto mobile launch rails. These rails are often disguised as civilian shipping containers. To the untrained eye, it looks like ordinary commerce. To the integrated network, it is a priority threat set waiting for authorization. If you have ever maintained these defense systems in the heat of the Gulf, share your experience in the comments. Billions of dollars are spent to keep these sea lanes open and to help protect stable energy prices for American families. Do you think that investment is worth the security it provides? We read every comment and we are grateful for your service, your knowledge, and your perspective. The launch begins at 3:14 local time. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps uses a saturation strategy with the new Russian-supplied infantry. 40 Jaran 2 and Shahed 136 drones are launched inside a compressed window of just 3 minutes. The goal is to overload the ship's radar processors by creating so many tracks that prioritizing the real threats becomes harder. The drones rise from their rails like a swarm of low-frequency wasps, angry and mechanical. They skim forward at an altitude of only 150 feet, hugging the waves to stay beneath the radar horizon of land-based sensors. On the bridge of the USS Gerald R. Ford, the atmosphere is calm, focused, and clinical. The ship's dual-band radar detects the swarm the moment the drones clear the coastal dunes. The Aegis Eye begins sorting. It identifies 40 separate tracks, assigning each one a unique digital marker. It calculates 40 different intercept points based on wind speed, humidity, and drone velocity. Threat level, high. Engagement logic, layered defense. The first layer is silent. The AN/SLQ 32C7 Electronic Warfare Suite, part of the Surface Electronic Warfare Improvement Program, activates. The system fills the sky with focused digital interference, aiming directly at the Russian Kometa-M satellite navigation receivers inside the drones. This is the soft response phase. For 12 of the drones, the world suddenly turns uncertain. Their internal gyroscopes can no longer confirm a stable satellite lock, and their navigation begins to drift. Within seconds, they lose reliable orientation. 4 of them bank sharply and drop into the sea 5 miles from the coast. 3 others, following degraded flight paths, cross into each other's routes and break apart in the air. Sparks, carbon fiber, and scattered fragments fall into the dark water below. But 28 drones remain. They are now 30 miles from the carrier strike group. A destroyer in the defensive screen, an Arleigh Burke-class ship, begins its hard response sequence. It does not start with its most expensive interceptors. It follows the layered defense principle. Use the right tool for the right range, the right threat, and the right cost. The ship launches the RIM 162 Evolved Sea Sparrow missile. This is the medium-range answer. The RIM 162 rises from the vertical launch cell with a deep roar that rolls across the deck plates and travels through the soles of the sailors' boots. Within seconds, it accelerates to Mach 4, more than 3,000 miles per hour. The RIM 162 carries a blast fragmentation package designed to activate near the target and create a cloud of high-velocity fragments. One interceptor opens in the middle of a 3-drone formation. The release of energy is like a sledgehammer striking a sheet of glass. The drones are not simply disrupted, they are broken apart in an instant. 8 drones vanish from the display in the first 12 seconds of the missile engagement. Now the remaining 20 drones have reached the 10-mile mark. They are closing the distance at 170 feet per second. This is where the engagement becomes physical. The ship's 5-inch Mark 45 guns turn toward the horizon. They are loaded with hypervelocity projectiles. These shells cost only a fraction of a guided missile, but they travel at 5,600 miles per hour. The sound of the 5-inch gun is a steady, chest-thumping rhythm. Each shell is guided toward its intercept point by the ship's fire control radar. They open in the drone's flight paths, creating a moving barrier the incoming aircraft cannot safely pass through. Fragments tear through fiberglass wings and damage the small 2-stroke engines. 5 more drones drop into the waves, leaving brief trails of fuel and sparks behind them. 15 drones remain. They are now inside 3 miles, entering the innermost defensive layer. This is the deep defense zone. The Phalanx CIWS comes alive. Its white, rounded radar dome locks onto the nearest drone with machine-level precision. The 6-barrel 20mm Gatling gun spins up to 4,500 rounds per minute. The sound is not a series of separate shots. It is one continuous metallic growl vibrating through the steel of the ship. The first drone in line is overwhelmed almost immediately. It is struck by 50 rounds in less than half a second. It does not continue forward. It dissolves into a cloud of fragments, fuel mist, and smoke 1,000 yards from the hull. The Phalanx CIWS shifts to the next target, then the next. Its mechanical efficiency is absolute. One drone slips through the stream by chance, helped by a sudden atmospheric gust. It becomes the lucky survivor, closing to within 500 yards of the ship's hull. But the RIM 116 rolling airframe missile launcher on the afterdeck is already locked. The missile leaves the rail and covers 500 yards in less than a second. The intercept happens so close that the bridge crew can see the orange flash as the drone's 100-pound payload breaks apart harmlessly over the sea. Only 1.14 seconds have passed since the final close-in radar lock. In that compressed window, 40 incoming threats were identified, tracked, prioritized, and engaged. 40 were removed from the tactical picture. The U.S. Navy system sustains no losses. The destroyer's deck is scattered with spent 20mm casings, the air carrying the sharp smell of hot brass and propellant. Then the Aegis Eye returns to its surveillance state. Sequence defeats raw firepower because no single weapon is a perfect answer. The engagement web works because it behaves like an interdependent organism. The satellite layer provides early warning. The electronic warfare suite creates the first disruption. The tiered defensive layers, from Sea Sparrow to the Gatling gun, provide the final response. The Russian drones fail because they are isolated machines operating without a true network. They are individual systems trying to challenge a fortress built from integrated, real-time data. And the U.S. Navy does not stop at defense. In the logic of the engagement web, a successful defense is only the first half of a counter-battery sequence. While the swarm was being broken apart, a pair of F/A-18E Super Hornets, launched from the USS Gerald R. Ford, were already circling at 30,000 feet. They were not searching for drones. They were searching for the origin point. The data from the first detection of the Russian shipment, the truck routes, and the thermal signatures of the launch rails is now sent directly into the cockpit of the lead Super Hornet. This is the sensor-to-shooter link in motion. The pilot does not need to hunt for the target. The fleet has already marked it. Target acquired. Coordinates confirmed by Aegis. Master arm on. Under the wing of the F/A-18E Super Hornet, the AGM-154JSOW is ready for release. This is a GPS-guided glide weapon with a range of roughly 70 miles, about the distance from Washington, D.C. to the outskirts of Baltimore. The pilot releases the AGM-154JSOW. It does not fall like a traditional bomb. Its wings unfold and it begins a quiet, controlled glide toward the Iranian coast. It follows a pre-programmed route, moving around known air defense radar coverage. On the ground, IRGC crews are attempting to reload their mobile launch rails with the next batch of Russian-supplied Duran-2 drones. They believe they are protected by distance, positioned 40 miles behind the coastline. The AGM-154JSOW arrives with no engine sound to announce it. It has no jet exhaust, no roar, no warning from the sky. It simply appears. Its 500-pound payload activates in the center of the staging area. The Russian-built trucks, spare drone crates, and mobile launch rails are rendered unusable in a single strike. Moments later, secondary bursts move through the site as stored fuel and equipment are consumed. From space, SBIRS satellites monitor the rising thermal signature. Target site inactive, no collateral impact detected. Aircraft vectoring for carrier recovery. The F/A-18E Super Hornet banks hard and returns toward the carrier. The mission has removed the opposing force's ability to attempt a second wave. A logistics chain that took Russia months to build has been severed in less than 10 minutes. For the Kremlin, this was a strategic gamble that failed to deliver a return. They invested millions of dollars and months of logistical effort to provide Iran with their most advanced localized drone technology. They hoped to prove that mass-produced, low-cost systems could overwhelm the U.S. Navy's integrated defense network. Instead, they were met by faster logic, layered defenses, and a wall of tungsten. The economic trap was turned back. By using a tiered combination of electronic warfare, 5-inch shells, and close-in defensive guns, the U.S. Navy spent only a fraction of what the opposing side committed to the swarm. The engagement was not only won in the air, it was won on the balance sheet. That is the reality of the modern engagement web. It is not only about having the largest weapon, it is about having the fastest decision cycle. It is about making sure that every Russian shipment and every Iranian launch attempt is met with a response efficient enough to make the strategy unsustainable. The IRGC commanders are left looking at burned launch pads and empty crates. The Russian technology they relied on did not fail because of a simple mechanical issue. It failed because it was an analog answer to a digital problem. In the ledger of the engagement web, the threat has been removed. The network remains ready. The sea remains open. The mission continues.